For this episode, we want to give a shout out to Ben with Creefall Bagel Company. Creefall Bagel Company is boiling and baking fresh sourdough bagels every morning. They're located in Creefall at 4825 Trousdale Drive, Suite 228. Go check them out. Welcome to another episode of the Nashville Dads. This week we have on Jensen Masuda of JMAS. We talk about what makes a good breakfast burrito, daycare problems, gender roles, and expecting another kid. We hope you enjoy.
Yeah, I have no perspective of the city outside of did it happen the last 2 years? Yes? Okay.
And
that sounds awesome.
Got some frame of reference.
Yeah.
We can educate you of the old school Nashville.
Yes.
Yeah, and I do have that complex where people are like, one, we moved from California, so I won't probably say that out loud so I don't get hate mail.
I'll edit it. I'll immediately take it out.
Yeah. We moved from Gallatin. It was great. And then two, it's like my wife and I have actually lived in 4 states in the last 7 years. And we can ingest the city pretty quick and pretty quickly determine if we like the city or not.
Yeah.
Out of necessity. And so that view of all right, let's run around the city, see what it's got. For us, it's always food, what kind of food stuff they have.
Yeah.
And how do you find community in a place where you're new to a location? How quickly can you get plugged in? Those are the things that become relevant.
Nice.
Awesome. So what made you move here? Because I know that you lived in Seattle at one point.
Yeah, so we were in Seattle. We most recently moved to Sacramento. Before that, we were in Seattle, and then before that, we were in Indianapolis. And then I'm from Phoenix, so call it 5 states in 7 years. But I all for work at Amazon. So we have a downtown office now.
Okay.
And I've sort of moved with promotions and businesses and things. And
just wasn't sure if you were moving around because you were getting in trouble at each of these.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
If I was, I wouldn't tell you.
Yeah,
so it doesn't matter.
Protection training.
Yeah. You really didn't do much background checking here.
Yeah, right.
But alas.
So yeah, you moved all around, and then landed in Nashville. Just fell in love with the city.
So a couple of things happened at the same time. One is I was committed to not moving anymore because my wife got pregnant, and we were like, it's actually not that hard once you're good at moving to move. I know there's a lot of trepidation about buying, selling a house, sort of packing up all your crap. It's not easy, but when you're good at it, like anything else, the barrier to entry becomes much less. And so while it sucked to move, it wasn't a big deal or didn't change when we were making life decisions. We're saying, okay, what's best for us? Moving doesn't become the biggest barrier of that choice. So finally, Amazon built this big location, this corporate office in downtown Nashville. And my org, the org that I'd been reporting to said, hey, if you end up in this corporate area, this corporate center, it's unlikely that you'll ever have to be in a different location because we're building out this big building. And so it's cool, let's pack up. The kid's coming in T-minus 6 months. One more move for the ages. And here we are. My daughter is 12 months now, 13 months. So I've got a 1-year-old, and we just found out a week and a half ago that we're expecting another one.
Oh, congrats.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
We haven't told anybody about my family, so I'm assuming nobody will listen to this.
It'll probably post in a month or two.
Yeah,
also,
perfect.
So you're good.
No worries.
And if you want us to edit that part out, we can edit
no,
that part
I just want to
out.
know which one of my friends actually follow along with our lives.
Yeah, that's it.
There we go.
It's
That's
really
a good test.
This is the Easter egg of your life.
Yeah, if
just
we
in the
hear
middle of it.
nothing, I just
Yeah, we'll post the episode tomorrow.
Yeah. Everyone who didn't know, you're dead to me.
Yeah,
telling you that
basically.
now.
So we're alive to you. Good to know. That's good.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know you till T-minus 10 minutes
10
ago.
minutes
So
ago. Yeah.
that's fine. And so here we are in Nashville, going on 2 years this summer. We live in the Creefall area. Love our sort of place and our environment. We're always talking about how do we meet people? How do we find community? That balance of I've got a 1-year-old, so I can't really do anything, but yet I have to push myself to be intentional with relationships, with friends, with balancing just my identity as a dad, a partner, and trying to be a Nashvilleian and build community. So it's a balance, as you guys both know. Not easy, but we're doing it. And we have a food truck, and we both work full time, and we have another kid coming. So,
Do you work at Amazon full time still?
I do.
Yeah.
I do, full time and a half. So
Okay.
I have a pretty balanced work schedule. I've been doing it for enough time that I like what I'm doing. I think we have a food truck that is time intensive, and we really need to figure out like how do we make our food truck realities sort of scale so I don't have to work a 9 to 5 and then work Saturday, Sunday slinging burritos.
Yeah.
So there's just balance and some real conversations now that we found out we had having another kid. Like it doesn't get easier to figure that out.
Not so much.
They just keep piling on.
That's right.
But,
so if anybody wants to help co-own a food truck, reach out in the DMs.
Yes.
So JMAS, or to country people, JMAS. I'm joking. It's not too far off.
You're not. I'm going to say whatever you want. It's free marketing.
As
Thank
long
you.
as you buy my burritos,
Yeah,
that's fine.
just keep on saying my name, JMAS, JMAS.
JMAS.
Yeah, perfect.
JMAS. How did that start?
Yeah,
You guys both have full-time jobs, and you were like,
Yeah, we're a bit of a masochist, and time means nothing. So we're both. My wife's from California. I'm from Phoenix originally, and the culture of eating breakfast burritos is actually a really common thing, right? Like you go to your Filibertos at 2 a.m. after you leave the bars, and there's a 24-hour drive-through. And you know what I will hate on in Nashville is that there's not a really good late night food scene. You know, if you want to go to a Waffle House, that's great, but like in other cities throughout the U.S., there's like oftentimes a late night Mexican place, but it's not uncommon. Even when we lived in Indianapolis, like that just didn't exist. And so really sadly, that sort of culture of let's go grab a late night burrito just didn't happen. And so when we moved out, when we were in the Midwest and originally in Indianapolis, and then sort of when we made back the rounds being further east, my wife and I are like, man, I really want a breakfast burrito. Like there's a void here. And unfortunately for her, she was like, yeah, this is a good idea. And so I was like, all right, sorry, we're running with this, and find ourselves in this predicament where we became the people that were going to wave the breakfast burrito flag. And sort of, we were talking earlier, I'm one of those people that from ideation to completion, it's really minimal time. Yeah. And so I have to like gut check my wife and say like, hey, I know you said this was a good idea, but like, how good of an idea do you think this is? Because if you say go, like there will be a food trailer in our yard in like 60 days. So don't like play with my heart. Like
I'm going to call a bank and get a loan.
That's right.
Food truck.
Yeah.
I've already got the number dialed. So do you mean this or not?
My wife knows better than to say like, let's do this, or this is a good idea, because same thing, that means I'm on GoDaddy buying the domain. I'm figuring out what the Instagram handle is. And she wakes up and I did like 7 tasks for this. She's like, I thought we were just going to talk about it. And I was like,
we did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, figured out like, hey, we really like breakfast burritos. It's a thing that sort of makes a ton of sense. There's an opportunity within Nashville to have this really good product. Mm-hmm. And selfishly, like we love food. We've been in, you know, both of us have worked in restaurants in our earlier in our careers and our lives. And so I think there's a good opportunity to do it, and specifically do it here. If you told me, hey, go take this truck back to Phoenix, I would say, no, it's not the right market. And so here we are. We bought the truck and had it delivered. It's a trailer in end of March. Have done probably half a dozen events, and they've gone really well. The feedback has gone super well, which we're really pumped about. And now it's sort of this view of like, what do we do now, right? Mm-hmm. Like, how do we go from not giving up every single weekend in every month where it's not cold to, especially with a 1-year-old daughter, like how do we balance that time? What's best for our marriage? What's best for a business? What's best for like our dreams? All of those things go into balance. So I think we're still in flux. We're still figuring that out, trying to figure out like what's our priority. And adding a second kid on the way in November, like that decision tree just becomes a little bit more complicated.
Does your wife work the truck with you? Like when you go out and do an event, it's you guys running it?
Yeah, it is. She typically takes the window, and I'll take the flat top in the back.
Yeah.
We've fortunately have worked with each other in other capacities, and so while we still probably kill each other every other time, like there's a balance. We know to stay in your lane and get that stuff figured out. And done.
That's your wife right there?
That's my wife,
All
Sierra.
right.
Shout out. She's way more camera friendly and charming than I am, which is me
that
just
looks like you
head down in the back, being like, "Don't talk to me."
Making burritos.
Yeah, I'm gonna burn myself right now if I have to think about anything else. Yeah,
That's awesome.
What I've got to ask, what makes a good breakfast burrito? You know?
Oh man,
I clearly have a strong opinion on it. I'm just trying to give you the platform to
that's
express
right.
it.
Listen up, folks. Turn up
Hot
the volume,
takes.
right? Without alienating half the folks on this.
Exactly.
This is not a great breakfast burrito city. No offense to the wonderful places that make breakfast burritos. I think they're doing it well, and no shade that direction. That being said, so I think a breakfast burrito is really about the tortilla. Like I'll talk about what we use. Like we use fresh eggs. We have great meat from Gifford's Bacon in East Nash. They have incredible smoked bacon, and they make a chorizo for us. We use tater tots. But like at the end of the day, when you sort of mix all of those things, it's really just like this blended egg mixture that tastes pretty much the same, irrespective of, you know, how nice of eggs or how great of bacon. Like it's a blended mix. So if you sort of decouple that view that there's this blended egg mix in the middle of this thing, what matters then? So the two things that we care and we're really proud about is our tortillas. We actually order them. I'll tell a quick sort of tangent story is I bought this massive like tortilla press. So if you think of like one of those big pizza presses that can make like a really large pizza, they can also be used to make really large tortillas. So I looked up all these recipes online. I shipped in a bunch of Sonoran flour. That's a specific type of flour that I like, where it's from the region of northern Mexico that produces like this amazing, beautiful flour tortillas. I found like really awesome lard or manteca, and tried it with olive oil and duck fat and like all of these sort of like niche, really excessive, trying to be like this master craft of tortillas, and then dedicated probably 3 months every weekend. And the end result was like, I just made really terrible tortillas. Like I was wishing that this was a cool story I could tell you about these handmade tortillas we're making. And like, they were okay, but they weren't in my head worth the time and effort that I was spending. And I was thinking like, as we scale, I don't want to have to introduce me making tortillas as step one, and then figuring out how to get all these tortillas onto the truck and then use them. And so if I can reduce some of the complexity, I could just spend more time with my family and my daughter with the same sort of trade-off. And so then option one, after spending, I'll quote this not because I think it's cool, but like we spent like $1,500 on this tortilla press, and then probably $500 of goods trying to recreate tortillas, only to like throw them all away or give them to neighbors who at some point just said like, we don't want these crappy tortillas. Like bless their hearts. We found a couple companies that would ship tortillas that look really good online, that sort of had the right appeal. And so landed on this company called Caramello Tortillas based out of Kansas. It's this gentleman who's from northern Mexico. He ended up going to school in Kansas. And when he was in Kansas, he was like, I'm this Mexican man in Kansas. I don't have any good tortillas. Well, I guess we'll just make them. And so it's always weird when I tell people, they ship them from Kansas once a week and we use them. But I gave some to the guys here, and they're this really beautiful balance of like super thin and translucent that turns slightly brown and crispy, has a little bit of like this flakiness. They can stand alone with lightly cooked with some butter, and you'll say this is the best tortilla you've ever had. Like firmly believe in it. And so the two things to me, one is a tortilla, which I think we've nailed, and that's the feedback we get often, like, dang, these tortillas are super good. And then the other one is like salsa. fun fact, what I didn't realize about our fellow Tennesseans is that a lot of people don't use salsa when they eat a burrito.
Nope.
And I was sort of heartbroken because we were asking people at the window. No, what happened was we were by default giving salsa when we gave people burritos. And then I would watch them and like they'd take the burrito and throw the salsa in the bag in the trash. And I was like, wait a minute, like the salsa goes with the burrito. You those don't. And like I spent a lot of time making this salsa only for me to put it in these stinking small plastic cups and then for you to throw them away. And so we went to the point where we were asking people like, hey, do you want salsa for this? And it's still like this 50% ratio of people saying yes. And
well, I have to probably say before you on breakfast burritos, most people probably either got them from McDonald's.
Yeah.
Or a food chain restaurant, and they had the salsa on the side, so that's how they thought they should.
Well, you
eat
didn't give
breakfast.
me any chips. How was I supposed to eat the salsa?
Or you sort of feel like breakfast burrito. Why would I want it at 3 p.m.? I'm like,
It's
okay,
delicious.
it's a different like crowd, and so we're getting used to like how do we stay true in what we think is a really good breakfast burrito, serve it how we want to, and then balance out like potentially we're introducing people to the first time they're having this. Not as like a $2 for $3 McDonald's entree, which no shade to that. I will pound a sausage burrito with the best of them in the morning. But like introducing your audience as you're building them, like it's not people sort of fundamentally know what a breakfast burrito is, but they don't necessarily know what a good breakfast burrito is.
Yeah, you're educating them on.
You are. So the next company that introduces a good breakfast burrito in Nashville, I've done all the work, so you're welcome.
I've tried to make tortillas before. Because, you look online, you see tortilla press. I'm like, oh, this would be cool if I could figure this out. I cannot do it. Like, and also with the area we live in, like, I can drive like anywhere and get tortillas or tamales that are made and like not deal with it all. Tortillas are extremely hard to make.
Yeah, and I actually think corn tortillas are even more challenging in order to like get the corn and nixtamal to make this beautiful corn tortilla. Like fresh corn tortillas are challenging, and there's places that do them really well, and so like why spend the time and energy if I can buy them?
Every time I tried it, they would turn out so thin. I would try to take it from the tortilla press, like in between wax paper, and try to put it like on a skillet to cook it, and it would like disintegrate in that 2 seconds of taking off the wax paper. And I'm like, I followed the direction. I watched 5 YouTube videos. Like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing wrong here? And it's like, you don't know what you're doing. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, that's right.
Love,
and like,
Devin, you're not putting enough love
that's
into
what, or
it.
I think that's actually called lard.
both synonyms.
Yeah.
So here we are. We're like now we think we have a good product, and keeping it simple, using really good fresh stuff is sort of the essence of how we're thinking about it. And I'll be honest, I don't eat breakfast burritos anymore. I can't look at eggs in the same way. Like people that say that like they're around their products and like could eat it every single morning, like I can't do that. I do like I actually ate a breakfast burrito at our last event. And I was like, oh, man, that's really good. And then I was like, I don't want it again. But I know I had to do some sort of like quality check just to make sure I'm not screwing it up. But I can't eat any more breakfast burritos if I'm being honest. Maybe that'll go away. Yeah.
Do you put potatoes in your breakfast burritos?
Yeah, we use tots.
Good. Yeah, that's right. You just said it. Yeah.
Man.
I feel like that's more of a West Coast thing also, is just sneaking in potatoes into a taco or a burrito.
Yeah, I've debated this with friends who sort of also live the breakfast burrito life. It's like, do we put beans in breakfast burritos? Which I'm a big no. Do we put like onions, or some people put like rice? Like I'm a firm believer it's eggs, meat, cheese. If you're like rich, maybe avocado.
Oh, yeah.
But like I also come from a very specific supply chain background, and so for me, it's like, how do I really simplify everything so that I can, one, produce something really quickly, because I think there's an appeal in there. Like, I don't want somebody to wait 15 minutes just for a breakfast burrito. So, like, I told my wife, like, goal number 1, from sale to back out, can we do it in 90 seconds?
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, if it's relatively affordable, relatively quick, and tastes really good, and has, like, a fairly narrow menu, like, those are all intentions and goals when we started. Like, how do I want the customer to perceive my breakfast burrito?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The first time that I ever heard of breakfast burrito or a breakfast taco was living in Austin. We had a a shop down at the very bottom. I worked at 6th Street, and all of my coworkers were like, "You gotta try these." I was like, "What is this? I've never heard of this. I'm not gonna eat a burrito for breakfast." This was back in 2006, though, and I tried it, and I was like, "Man, this is amazing!" And it had tortilla, egg, cheese, and it had bacon.
Brisket.
It didn't have that. I think you could have gotten brisket.
That's real. No, it's really
yeah,
that's really
yeah.
a popular breakfast brisket taco.
My favorite was the egg, bacon, cheese, and potatoes.
Yeah.
It wasn't the tots, but it was actual like
French fries.
cubed
potato.
cubed
Oh, like hash browns.
potatoes.
Gotcha, yeah.
And I was like, man, this is a perfect combination.
Yeah. And like I think when you know it's true, like now I don't have to convince you that a breakfast taco is really good.
Yeah.
But for the first time, I'm often introducing folks here, and we're getting like a split crowd now, where people who know what a breakfast burrito is are coming to travel because they're like, you're sort of checking this void that I've been missing in Nashville.
Yeah.
And then it's also introducing to people who are like, this is a good breakfast burrito. So this is what the standard should be. So every time you eat a bad one, you should feel disappointed and want to come back to us.
Nice. Whenever I make pizza for my kids, they're so hilarious because they'll eat a spoonful of pizza sauce, they'll eat the bread, they'll eat the cheese, but if I put it all together, they refuse to eat it. I feel like if you sell a breakfast burrito, you're like, do you like tortillas? Yeah. Do you like eggs? Yeah. Do you like bacon? Yeah. Do you like tater tots? Yeah. Do you like cheese? Yeah. How do you feel about them all together? I hate it. You're like, what? You just told me you liked all of that together. Like, that's how I feel cooking for my kids. It's like, hey, I'm going to list off the ingredients. Do you want this? Yeah, sounds great. Here you go. Oh, this is disgusting. I never eat this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand or reason with any of that. I let them be. As long as their parents have bought them the burrito, whether they choose to eat it,
That's not up to you.
I don't lose sleep about it.
Yeah.
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 You got to think most kids, they don't even know what they want 5 minutes from now.
They want ketchup. That's
Yeah.
usually. As if
They
it
do
involves
want ketchup.
that's about
I'm
it.
doing my best to not have a picky kid. And like, you know, I understand there's like probably zero chance, even if you care and try and don't cook additional meals and give them like all of these things. I've leveled with the fact that my kid's still going to eat chicken nuggets, but I'm trying to fight that as long as possible. And I don't know what to do because I have a ton of foodie friends and they're like, breaks their heart that their kid won't eat anything. And I'm like, I guess that's just the phase. Like, I should stop worrying about it.
I'll say our oldest kid eats a lot of mac and cheese and ketchup and chicken nuggets. Our second kid loves hummus and peppers. And our third kid loves kombucha and like almond butter and bread. So
You sound such a hippie.
a lot of that, yeah, a little bit. A lot of it is also like first daughter was in daycare all the time. Second daughter is whenever I quit work and she started staying home with me. Third kid has always been at home. So like when you drop your kid off at a daycare, you're just like, hey, I made you a lunch. Please don't eat Cheetos if someone brings them to school today. Just, I'm looking at your teacher right now. If someone brings Cheetos, keep it to a handful. That's about it. So I think that's part of why, is because if anyone else watches your kid, then you're like, okay, how am I going to stop what you eat? I packed you the food. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm online. Like one of the selling points for the daycare that we have our daughter in now is that we can bring our own food. They don't have like pre-prepared things. Yeah. But I'm still like, there's a kid with a peanut allergy. There's a kid with an egg allergy. I'm like, okay, what can I give that they can grab and eat that isn't just like a PB&J? And then I find myself like stressing thinking about it when I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna give my kid a PB&J today. They're gonna be fine. They'll eat a pirate's booty, like whatever. Like I don't want to. I like the trade-offs that I'm making in the 2 hours in the morning where I'm tired and like functioning on coffee and make sure we're packing our lunch. Is never the most efficient part of my life. So I should just embrace that the kid's gonna eat what they eat, and then dinner we'll make sure they have something balanced.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, our daycare, they provide snacks and provide lunch. So I'm like, save money? Yes. I'm not going to bring anything.
Pretty much.
And it's so weird. We get updates from her daycare all the time, and it's Ada ate everything. And it's all the stuff that we cook in the evening time, and she will not eat it.
She won't touch it.
She will not touch it.
Peer pressure plays a big part in that. Whenever,
It is insane.
Our kids sometimes, our kids, whenever we make them a meal and it's just our family, battle. All right, sit down, you got to eat it, blah, 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 blah. If we have friends over and we cook the exact same meal, they sit there and talk to their friends and eat the food. And I'm like, I know I'm not that good at conversation with you, but like, I'm trying, first of all. And it's still chicken nuggets and ketchup. Like, how do you,
I don't understand you.
I don't understand.
I think like every day is like, what are the micro trade-offs you want for your own sanity and your
basically.
kids' like longevity? And I honestly, I would have said that I wouldn't have made as many like of those trade-offs as I do, but I constantly like, okay, like they'll be fine. And like they won't think about it. It's something that we thought was a priority for us and then becomes less of a priority. Like that's the reality of it. And you learn.
I think we're starting to scratch the surface with other dads where you're like, what was it before you became a parent? We were like, oh, I would never do this. And here you are doing it every single day. Mm-hmm. Food is definitely one of them. Like, I'll figure out how to get them to eat vegetables. They'll love green peppers.
It's because you're so tired, you do not want to fight the battle.
That's true. It's true. And like, but I also have to counter, like, if I were to put more time and it wasn't just because I was tired, like, what would I really have done in a non sleep deprived scenario?
Yeah.
And like, how do I position myself? Like, for instance, I need to pack my lunches at night for my daughter.
Yeah.
If I do it in the morning, she's going to get whatever I can find as quickly as I can find it. But if I think about it, like when she's asleep and I'm like, okay, I can be intentional about how I pack my lunch, the choices are always almost better.
Yeah.
But the trade-off I'm making is like, I really want to watch Abbott's Elementary or Ted Lasso. Yeah. And so the kid will get a PB&J tomorrow. Like that's the balance. And so those are the things where I'm like, okay, I do have some control if I position it in a way that I'm not just feeling rushed or tired.
Yeah.
But it's not always the case. And I am totally empathetic to other dads or parents that like don't have the luxury of that time, or they have multiple kids, and like those sort of micro choices become even more. You're maybe making some things, some balances that you wouldn't have done a year ago or in your head 6 months ago. But that's life.
I make both of our girls are in like first grade and pre-K, so I always do it the night before because of like I'm like, all right, if I do this in the morning, I'm not gonna I'm just gonna be more annoyed that I didn't do. I'm gonna have more like shame about myself. They're like, why didn't you do this already? You decide like you're already doing dishes and cleaning up the kitchen. Yeah, this takes 5 minutes if you would have done it last night. Now you're doing it while telling a kid to get dressed, to brush their teeth, and eat their breakfast. So like, just do it the night before.
It doesn't feel good when you say that like the night before, but like you always think like, yeah, I should have done it.
Yeah, basically, yeah. In the moment, you're like, oh, but like, have you tried sitting down? Sitting down is great.
Yeah. Have you tried talking to your wife? It's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been probably since this time last night that you actually really talked. So
what does she look like again?
Yeah, she's that one, right? Have you had any stomach bugs in your family since having a kid?
You know, we started daycare in January at like 8 months. Yeah. Which just means we've been sick since January.
Basically, yeah, that's all it really means.
Yeah. And like, I know people say your kid gets sick when they get to daycare. And I was like, yeah, but my kid's never been sick before. They're strong.
And they're like, oh, no.
Yeah. They're like,
have fun.
Yeah. No. And you know, the first time you see your kid like actually feeling unwell, one, it breaks your heart incredibly. Yeah. But two, you're like, like, do I have the sick kid? Yeah. Like, is my kid going to be the sick kid? And it turns out, yes. Yeah. And so am I. And I'm now the sick kid in adult form. And we just like create new strains of disease in our house. And, you know, it passes around and we think we're good. And we did the ear infection kick. And that was fun. I think we're in a steady state. Like,
what is up with ear infections for kids? It is just insane.
Unreal.
It's been one of those my family's been able to avoid, but everyone else I know has had tubes put in their kids' ears. Like we've been able to avoid it for all 3 kids, and I have no idea why. Like I have a niece who had them put in. Like your kids had them put them in. Like almost everyone I know.
We thankfully aren't there yet.
Not yet.
We've had a couple. We're running out of different sort of antibiotics that we can try.
Yeah.
And so like I think our doctor was like, well, we're at that like if it happens again. Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Justin, was it it's not very invasive, right? What was your experience with Ada getting tubes put in her ears?
Well, she was extremely young. I think she was 7 months or something like that. Yeah. So, I mean, usually you get it around 1.5 to 2 years, I think, is the normal time frame. But she just was put down and then literally maybe 25 minutes.
It's a real quick outpatient surgery.
And then came back. She was screaming because she had no idea what was going on. She just woke up to this random stranger, which was a nurse. So that kind of broke your heart. But other than that, like...
That makes me feel better, actually.
There were
knowing how minimally invasive that experience was.
Yeah. We were able to take her home after, I would say, a half an hour or 45 minutes. We just calmed her down, made sure she was fully awake, and then took her home.
Yeah.
But she still has some ear infections, but they're nothing like what she's had before. And going back to daycare and being like, oh, she's never going to get sick. The very first day she got sick and has been sick ever since. And we're just, the ER visits that we've had to go have been crazy. But it was our first kid.
It's all in retrospect, right?
Yeah, we had no idea. When your kid looks like she's like going in and out of consciousness because she can't breathe out of her nose.
And she can't make eye contact, and she's like pale, and she's like clammy. You're like, oh, this is an emergency room visit. Here we go.
Yeah, I anticipate we're gonna spend extra money on things as like a gut check, and like that's fine. Our kid, the problem with my child is that she actually is not reactive to much, and so she needs to be like slapped in the face for me to know like she's like feeling unwell.
Yeah.
And like it's like her signs for anything is like she doesn't sleep that well. That's it.
Yeah.
Like
but she's also
she sort of she touches her ear a little bit more, and like we're like, was that a thing?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Okay. And like it turns out like she's a really bad ear infection. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're terrible parents. I didn't pick up on that subtle cue. She's telling us, and she just and so like every time now I'm like, okay, because our kid doesn't signal in any way, like it's almost worse. I have to be more detective dad to figure out if she's feeling unwell.
Yeah, because I feel like there's like that. Okay, do they have a fever? Do they have a temperature? No. What am I supposed to do with like? One time our oldest, I feel like had like that type of week where she was like off and not sleeping well and like mucusy, but like not where I thought she was sick. So we finally took her in after like 2 weeks, and they're like, "Oh, she has a pneumonia." I'm like, "Are you pneumonia? Are you serious?"
I'm not laughing at your daughter's pneumonia,
no,
but
it's the reality of like you sit there and you're like, "No, I was checking her temperature every day. I gave her Benadryl. Like I wasn't." The shame assumption I have is like that people look at me like, you didn't know she had pneumonia, and they're like, they don't care. They don't care. Like they're fine. But was my thought is like, no, I tried, and I need to make sure to communicate that I've been trying for 2 weeks to avoid this moment of shame. Where you telling me my kid is almost dying because of me?
I am not a bad dad.
I'm not a bad dad. Okay, all right, man. No one said you weren't, but you kind of did with your eye contact.
Our kid has a really bad gag reflex when she eats.
Yeah,
and when she throws up at daycare, they're like, your kid throw up, you have to pick her up. And I'm like, no. My kid looks at a squishy banana and throws up.
Yeah.
She doesn't touch it. She like has this like really shallow gag reflex. And I'm like, I know she's not sick. But like, no fault to there. The kid throws up, They don't, their job isn't to be partial on, was it a gag reflex or was it a stomach bug? And so I'm like, dang it. Would you stop throwing up? Like, I need you to stay in for a day. I can't take off more work. And like that will never change.
Has she been taking? Does the doctor give her any medication like famotidine or anything like that?
No, like I don't know what that is. So my assumption is no.
It's like a Pepsid type product.
I don't think it is actually like flux of anything. It's really like she like put too big of a piece of a banana in her mouth, and she drank milk right before it, and that like triggered her, and now she has like milk vomit on her chest.
Gotcha.
And so like it happens to us when we're feeding her, and it's always when we're feeding her, and then like after she vomits, she's like, I want more food, and runs around a little bit, and I'm like,
that's not a sick kid.
It's not a sick kid, but like I don't fault them for saying my kid just threw up.
Yeah.
Like it is what it is, and I'm just like, kid, you got to keep it down. Like you got to hold this one in.
The joy of daycare. Whenever we had our kids in daycare, there was one time we got called because one of our daughters had a poop that smelled sickly.
What
was their wording? Which, first of all, to their credit, there are some poops where like, oh, this kid is sick.
Yeah, there's something
wrong.
Yeah,
but to that be the reason, it's like, well, the person who normally changes their diaper just think this one smells sickly. Other kids have been sick, so we need you to come pick her up. And we're like,
is that in the rule book?
Is that in the?
No.
I want to challenge this real bad. Can I come in and see if I think it's sickly? Like, because I just want to work at least. So I want to be able to pay for your daycare, and this isn't how I pay for your daycare.
That's right. I think it's like it also feels like they're holding my kid hostage because there's literally nothing I can do about it. If I like, okay, well, I'm going to take my kid to another daycare in 7 months on a waiting list.
Basically.
Like, okay, you can do whatever you want.
$200 more a month.
Like, oh, sweet. I guess I'll pick up my kid then. We'll see you in 2 days.
Yeah, it's
Dude,
really fun.
If there are any babysitters out there, start up a daycare or a babysitting nanny start job, and you will make a lot of money here in Nashville.
It's it's quite a need.
Yeah.
I think like when I like one, it's the least like thankful or it's a thankless job. Like I watch like my kid, like the ratios change as your kid gets older, right? Yes. And like I envision like now there's 6 of my kids and you have to watch them. Like,
oh my God.
How are you not like a billionaire because like the value that you're doing is worth so much?
They are saints.
They are, and like in most sort of major cities, you just can't get daycare. You can't get into like any sort of daycares. And I think like, oh well, why don't you just open up a daycare and charge as much as you possibly can until the market equalizes and find where like that point. And I'm not saying you should take advantage of desperate parents, but there's definitely a need where people are like, I'll pay whatever.
They'll pay for what they get.
Yeah, and like that line is not there. I actually was like surprised how relatively affordable daycare was because we initially had a nanny for our daughter.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait, I'm paying less to take them into daycare? Why were we putting her in daycare to begin with? And my wife's like, shut up. Like, that is not why we were like, not it. Yeah. And so, shout out to all our daycare professionals. You should be paying more at other places. Don't raise my rent, please.
Well, I mean, like if you think of daycare, like, if you pay like what $50 a day or something, like if I were to pay you $50 a day to watch a kid from 7:30 until 5:30, you'd be like, that's insulting.
Yeah.
But if you do that math out, like in a month, that's what, like $1,000 for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that'd be a really cheap daycare. Wait, how much do you actually pay your employees? Because like you should earn more than $1,000 for that much like work.
I'm surprised they don't get sniped like that. They don't just lose daycare people. Like I will. I'm not going to mention it, but like I would pick up some of the people who really think are awesome and be like, cool, come work for us. I guarantee I'll pay you more, like per hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
To do exactly the same with 1 kid instead of 6.
Yep.
And then I'm like, no, I shouldn't even mention that because like there are other families in need and need this particular type of care that works for their families and their lives. And like, it's a very privileged thing to me to say like, I'll just steal this person and pay more because it just ruins the pie for everybody else.
Yeah. But I do think daycare is one of those like, if someone was like, oh, what's like it like to be a dad? Like, okay, so the mental weight of who takes care of your kid every single day, if it's not if it's not you or your wife, is a weight that you will not understand like at all. Because even if like you have a nanny or something like that or daycare, it's like, okay, it's Sunday night. My kid has a slight temperature. I don't know if they can go to school tomorrow. What does that mean? The first half of my week is now destroyed because I can't predict when someone can watch my kid. And now I don't know if I can work. So how do I, which one of us just doesn't work? Like, do I take off the morning? My wife takes off. Like, how do we actually work this out? Like that stress and mental burden, you can't really communicate to someone until they have a child.
I'm getting anxiety for you just talking about that.
But it's true though. That's like what some Sunday nights are. It's like, okay, our kid just threw up. Cool. So do I tell my boss right now that I'm not working tomorrow morning?
Or like how much throw up? Like why should we make that trade-off? Like, so was it really that bad?
In the morning, will that make their fever go down enough that we can get through to at least 2 p.m.?
We've done that before.
I think every parent has done
and
that.
hence why every kid is sick when they show up to daycare because we all made that
true.
Thing.
We're the reason.
Yeah, we're the reason.
Yeah.
But it's so...
My mom actually is the one who told me that. I was like, oh, our daycare, if they have like a 100-degree temperature, then they can't go into daycare that day. And she was like,
stressful.
oh, so does everyone give their kid Tylenol right before they drop them off at school?
Here's this iPad. What I would do. Put it on your head. Whatever you do.
Give you some adrenaline.
And like the big thing with my wife and I, we both work from home. I recently have had to go back to the office, but it's like, okay, sort of we're both saying like, whose work is more valuable today? Like, I don't want to say, well, no, I have this important meeting. Where it's like, what is important to you? It doesn't like, I don't know if this meeting for you that you have is important. And then we just say like, okay, do you really care about my job? And I don't know. Like that's the trade-off we're making every day. My kid gags on a banana. Exactly. Like here we are.
That's part of why I quit was because like we did it off of math and mental space. So like my wife was making enough. We only had 2 kids at the time, but my wife was making enough money to support 4 of us. I made I basically paid for daycare and health insurance. That's what my job covered.
And let's not downplay that because those are pretty good. Yeah.
But like, so it's like, okay, cool. Financially, if I get on your health insurance, we switch all this up. Is that worth it? The answer is we're only going to have kids this little for like this long. So like in 5 years from now, you just go find a job. But that's more the lens we did. It was like, okay, so for 5 years, we're probably a little tighter financially because just you are working and you aren't. But you are a white college-educated male. You'll probably find a job pretty easily.
You'll be okay.
I feel pretty confident.
So are you planning on...
in a year from now, like whenever Josh is like probably 3 and then like potty trained and all that. Because like yeah, as you were saying, like the ratios of how many teachers can watch your kid, the older your kid gets, the cheaper daycare becomes. So yeah, maybe whenever he turns like 3, so like in 2 years from now or something like that. But I would imagine I would do something more part-time because like realistically, Josh and I do like an adventure in the morning and then the afternoon's picking up kids from school. Because like Magnolia my middle child gets out at 2, Holly gets out at 3. So like from 2 until 5:30, someone has to be responsible for our other kids. So to find a job that's like you can work from 8:30 until 1:30, that's like a part-time gig. I don't know. Maybe editing podcasts, who knows?
Anything in particular other than editing podcasts?
No, podcasts now, not really. I'm not a career person.
A greeter at Walmart?
I'm not old enough to do that. But no, I'm not a very like career-focused person, which is a very interesting comment to make as a male. To be like, yeah, my career's a career. I don't know. I'll do whatever.
It's a job, right?
It's a job.
Yeah.
Are
you interested in owning a food truck? I know a guy.
No, you do.
Yeah, there you go.
Only if it's part owner.
8 to 1:30, I got a shift for you. Let me know. You just laid your cards out on the line.
Didn't that
Dude,
crap?
Yeah.
just be an investor.
In a year or two. Not yet. Kid is still very young. But no, I mean, at some point in time, you know, whatever legitimately makes my family's life sane is probably what I'll go for. So if doing a job that makes us more money, gives us more stability or safety or whatever, yeah, I'll go do that.
I think there's also a trade-off, though. Like, my wife makes decent money, but and we've both had this conversation. Like, even if the math was neutral or positive on the other way, would you still want to be a stay-at-home parent? Mm-hmm. And for me, is like, even if the math worked out in our favor for me to stay because it balances out daycare, like I couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. I couldn't do it. And like I think my wife has thought about it too, and like sort of has landed on like I don't think she would want to do it.
Yeah.
And that was like sort of a hard reality to say, like, I don't know if I'd want to be at home with my kids because I like the balance that I have with work and like, you know, having that sort of I think a lot of our marriage is more successful when my wife is working, as we've sort of known this throughout of our career.
Yeah.
And it because there's just a little bit more balance. It's not about money. It's like, cool, she can work her 9 to 5. We have different stories to talk about because she's had a full day talking through some other things. Yeah. And the expectation is like, oh, we both know what it feels like to clock out at 5. And then we're sort of, there's no like, oh, were you were home today? Like that sort of thing sort of makes me feel cringy. Like when I take a day off and like, well, you know, I took a day off because of XYZ. I don't want to feel guilty that I was, you know, watching the kid. Now I feel like I have to do more to compensate. Yeah. So that there's a balance there for me.
It is. And I feel like it's got to be hard for women to know how to communicate that they don't want to stay at home with their kids. Because if you say, I don't want to stay home with my kids, it's like, oh, okay, cool. So you're going to be a man. You're going to go make money for your family.
Yeah.
But like my wife being like, my wife is better that she doesn't stay home with kids because she is a very focused, career-oriented person and is very successful at it. She would still be successful if she stayed home with kids.
Sure.
But like based on our personalities, it is better for everyone that she works and like it's not the other way around. It just is. But
and the fact that we have to talk about it as if like that's an anomaly that is like justified. Like
I think it's getting better though.
I think it's getting better.
It's becoming more normalized. It's just not quite there yet.
I think we're a generation away from that.
Yeah.
Like, all of our kids will be like, oh yeah, my dad's a stay-at-home dad. Yeah. No big deal. But like my parents would probably still be like,
hell
are you sure?
Yeah.
Like and like it right, wrong, or different, like we're transitioning, but I don't think we're there yet.
Now, if I go to the zoo with my kid during the day, I don't see a lot of other men there that are there without like their wife, or it looks like they took a day off from work to do it. Yeah. And you just acknowledge it.
That like, random stranger took a baby from somebody.
Yeah, basically that's what they all think. But like, yeah, if I go to like story time in the library downtown, I know one other dad that consistently goes, and it's a sea of women. Well, I'm like, I don't know, like, I'm here, you're here, we're just trying to have some...
Do you, like, make eye contact with the other guy and be like...
what up? Yeah, actually, no, yeah. Well, you, like, gradually, like, sit nearish to them. So, and you're like, I'm not gonna...
So what's your story?
I'm not gonna come on too strong,
but can we be friends?
But like, hello. Clearly we have similar interests.
Yeah. Especially do it in that tone. Hello.
You just gotta let them know you're weird as hell to begin with. Yeah. So, I'm not... Yeah, so...
That's awesome. And I think, like you said, after a generation or two, it'll become a normal thing for either person to do it, and it won't be such a stereotype for the men.
I think you just realize that, like, whenever I discuss my situation, like that, what I do for a living, there's an explanation that I feel inclined to give.
Yeah.
And to not have to feel like I'm inclined to give an explanation of why my wife and I have arranged our life the way we have would be nice. I'm not going to act like it would be.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, we there's so much identity in like, what do you do for work?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And like, I could care less to talk about it 90% of the time, but like that is the natural progression. Hi, I'm Jensen. This is what I do for a living. Like, why does that matter in a regular thing? And like, and I think that was some of the anxieties when my wife wasn't working, when I was shipping her across 7 states and whatever time, is that she would be in a new state. We're there for my work, and she would be like, I haven't found a job yet. And like, it's an uncomfortable feeling because there's right, wrong, or different. She feels judged in that moment to say like, I'm not working at the moment. Like, oh, why not? I'm a stay-at-home mom. Like, everything all right?
I'm not providing to society or my family.
That's right. And so like, I'm empathetic to that view because it is sort of a weird natural progression to ask, what do you do for a living?
Yeah, of course. I mean, honestly, it's in our podcast, we will have discussions of like, okay, do we lead with asking about their kids first or their job? Because both are important to people and they're good conversation points. But like, what we're ultimately discussing is identity to some extent and how you fill your days. And a career or a job is normally how people define themselves and fill their days. So we like, it's hard to know, like, that's a natural conversation people are used to talking about.
Yeah. And some people, that is their identity.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's okay. Also.
That's okay. That's okay. Exactly.
Yeah. I think what you do and where you work could be part of your identity.
Yeah.
But don't make it your full identity. And kind of like what Mitch was saying is, in the podcast, I think it was a week ago or so, he was saying, I don't look at myself as that producer.
Yeah, he's like a Grammy award-winning producer. And I was like, so what accolade do you give yourself? You've produced music, you've made music, you've won a Grammy. And I was like, I'm just Mitch.
Yeah.
That's me.
Mitch, and I'm a husband and father.
I think there's insecurity when people sort of, I won't blanket statement, but like there's something about, there's pride in the work, either like it is your identity and like that gives you joy. It might be the most successful thing in your life. But people who can comfortably say like, yeah, it's just like another thing that I do. It takes a lot of self confidence or like self-belief in who you are to be able to proudly say like all these other things that I do that are really awesome. Like, yeah, they're part of it.
Yeah.
But I'm really firm in who I am as a person, and that matters more. It's not easy. Like I would struggle with that. Like that's something that I don't think I'll ever be like, screw you all. I don't care what you think of me. This is me. But there's a balance.
Yeah. I was listening to an audio, I think on Instagram, where somebody had said, so-and-so, who are you? What do you do? Or who are you? And he said, well, I'm work here and I do this. And they're like, no, who are you?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I mean, I have 2 kids and I'm a father and a husband. And he was like, no, who are you? It just kept going for like 5 minutes and the guy was getting very agitated, but also, I mean, it is a good question of who are you without the exterior things going on.
I think it's really important to remember in your day-to-day life, however you've defined, however you've set up your day, the world's a lot bigger than how you've set up your day. So that's like the thing of identity. It's like, I'm a husband and a father, but aren't you also like someone's brother and someone's kid? Oh, yeah, I am. Aren't you also blah, 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 blah? Oh, yeah, I am. Oh, so whatever I've defined myself as, I'm actually more than what I think I am. Yeah. Oh, that's kind of scary, but also empowering at the same time. Okay, cool. Today it's more scary than it's empowering. Okay, noted. Okay, here we go.
We're getting deep.
Trying. Thanks, Jensen. Thanks for living up in the clouds with me.
I'll be there with you.
I know you have a Nashville Soccer Club hat on.
I do.
I feel like you've had a couple Instagram pictures. How do you feel about Nashville Soccer Club? Are you a soccer fan or you just like the logo?
Wow, that's insulting. Am I a football fan?
Yes.
Is that what you asked?
Yes.
I do have season tickets to NSC.
Nice.
I own them, but I don't go to games as often as I could. Refer back to the work every weekend and have a 9 to 5, that thing. And so I do. It is something as a guilty pleasure. One of the things that I told my wife when we were moving to Nashville is like, I want to get season tickets to something.
Yeah.
That will make me feel like part of the city.
Mm-hmm.
Titan Stadium's too far away, and like relative to where we live, like
it's down the
Geodis
street.
Is like perfect.
Like nothing.
You can't get there. You can't park there if you wanted to.
Oh, no, not at all.
But it's physically close as the crow flies. And so it's been a fun thing having season tickets for this is the second season now. Most of it is just given to my friends. So you're welcome. But like really enjoy watching the teams play, and you know, a little bit frustrating at times as a soccer fan. But I think it's fun to get into it, and like I'll watch it on Apple TV now that they included that. Yeah. But it's just a fun way to connect to the city, which I think has been a good experience.
Yeah, I did. This is my second year doing season tickets also, because we're like 2 miles from the stadium. It's really nice, and it is like it's really cool to be able to get on like the ground floor with the sports team and see how your town starts to like identify itself as like a football town. Also, it's really cool. Or like I also had the same thought of like, oh, whenever they build that stadium, I'm probably going to figure out season tickets because that's really cool to be able to be a part of that.
I think it's a great stadium. So if you haven't been, like, it's super fun. Yeah. And I think like soccer in the U.S. is on the up and up. Like it's been a really fun 4 or 5 years. I didn't grow up playing soccer. I was a baseball, football guy. I'd still sort of follow that. But like being into U.S. men's national team, and like you're on this in pretty soon, it's going to be a pretty predominant sport in the U.S. Like at least at equal levels. And like you have this culture where it's in the media now. You have shows about it. MLS obviously is pretty popular, but you know, as I was growing up as a kid, like nobody played soccer. Like the quote unquote athletes, like were in other sports.
Yeah, basketball, football.
Yeah, and now it's like baseball. I want my kid to play soccer. Like that'll be a great experience. And I also like I don't know if you guys have thought about this now that your kids are getting older, but like your parents put you in whatever sport they want to see. Yeah. They might say like, oh yeah, try all of these ones, but like really I'm rooting for certain sports. You are.
I am going to be one of those parents.
Like I don't want my kid to swim. Like no offense to all our swimming dads out there, because like it just hears like you go to a swim meet and you wait all day for like this 1 minute burst, and then you sit around in the stands all weekend. Yeah. I'm like, that sounds terrible.
I would really like her to be in the basketball, but if she isn't, I hope that she's into something. Doesn't have to be a sport.
100%.
Like dance or gymnastics or something like that, because I look forward to going to those things.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Because it's cute. It's fun. My oldest did community centers around town. Like we'll do like a ballet and stuff like that, and they're a great resource to look at because like we did ballet for our oldest, and it was like $100 for like 4 months worth of ballet classes, like every single week. Versus I feel like if you go to like a ballet studio, that's like $1,000. Yeah. And we're like, I don't even know if she like has any interest in this. So like, it's more, I would much rather have my kids play soccer or basketball. But like if they find ballet and they seem really energized by it and they don't stop talking about it, I'll be a ballet dad. Like, that's fine. Yeah. Like, I don't know what half of it means.
Heck I'll be in the stands rooting, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you learn, right? Like it becomes your life either way.
Yep. So we'll see if that takes off. But it's, especially with like the ascent of the women's national team and how dominant they are in everything they do. You kind of, it's the rise of football or soccer in America is really fun to see other people also be like, oh, hey, I actually care now. Like,
yeah.
And sadly, I would take a couple of people last year to the games with me and I'd be like, oh, do you care about soccer at all? And a lot of them would say, I started watching Ted Lasso recently.
Yep, that was me.
But I don't care how they get into it, right?
That was definitely me because, we started watching Ted Lasso. And I was like, okay, soccer seems pretty cool.
That seems interesting.
And then you invited me to that soccer game, and I was like, holy shit, this is pretty fun. And I learned a little bit from Ted Lasso. I mean, I still don't know all the rules and regulations and everything like that.
No one does. It's fine.
It changes ref to ref, so you're fine.
But so, I mean, Ted Lasso has definitely, I think, introduced a boatload of people.
It's a gateway drug.
It is. It's a gateway drug to
Premier
League.
It's such a great show.
It is.
We've been watching it I can't remember, 6 episodes in now.
There's an episode at my Apple Watch says, "Oh, there's a new episode on Apple today," and like I don't actually know what day of the week is, but we always just watch it as soon as I get that response. And I'm like, I think it's a Tuesday.
It's a Wednesday.
Is it like
it came out today? New episode came out today. I haven't watched it yet either.
We're a few episodes behind, I think.
That's okay.
But it is the most exciting part of my. I don't know if that says about my life, but like top 5 event of my life is the stupid ping that says
Apple Watch
episode is live. I'm like,
that's how I feel about Succession, where I'm like, okay, I missed it last night, right? Yeah, okay, cool.
We're on both of those, and so like we can stagger the week a little bit to enjoy that.
This could be an all succession podcast for the rest of this episode, but we won't do that to you, Justin.
It is okay.
So
we can talk about Ted Lasso.
If we're discussing gender roles and masculine and everything, I think besides introducing people into soccer, I mean, yeah, Ted Lasso has introduced people, and like, how can you be a man and be kind and still good to people at the same time? And whenever I saw that show was announced, that was the last thing I expected Jason Sudeikis to be able to do, is be like, hey, you can be a man and be kind to people and still hold your masculinity at the same time.
Also, mental illness as well. Realizing that there are a lot of people out there that have it, and it is okay to have it.
I've never seen panic attacks illustrated so well with so many of like the high noises, the like finger twitching and his like need to like be physically alone and take deep breaths. It's like, oh, you guys actually like, I don't know if Jason Sudeikis suffered from panic attacks himself or not, but you guys did some well research and you're representing this the way I expect a panic attack to actually feel. And look, well done.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out that people really like watching it. Like, who would have thought? Like, I think you nailed it. Like, it's such a feel good show. And it's not always like happy either. Like, and that
but
balance.
There's a lesson. There's always seemed to be a lesson that you can learn.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that doesn't like that show. And if you don't like that, just
You're
stop
the
listening.
devil.
You're the devil. I thought Shrinking was pretty good also.
It's super funny. Yeah.
Shrinking.
Yeah.
Is that with
It's with Jason
not
Segel.
Segel.
Yeah.
Segel and
Harrison Ford. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is all about mental health.
What
thing.
What is that on?
It's Apple Plus also.
Okay.
Bill Lawrence is the showrunner for Ted Lasso and for that. So
I like all those shows that have like these offhanded comments that are just so witty and funny. Like they're like throwaway jokes or throwaway comments, and like I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh, that's really funny, and then I'll laugh like 2 seconds later, and my wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm a little slower than you are. So
how do you feel about having a second kid?
Woof.
Yeah, right.
So the thing is, we weren't expecting to have a second kid immediately. Like, we've always talked about having multiple kids, and my wife had a pretty intense birth story, and like she was sort of in her head about like getting pregnant and sort of delivering again, and so by happenstance, she got pregnant, and so it relieved the anxiety about like putting herself in the position to be pregnant and like going through it. Now she's like, well, hell, I'm pregnant. I don't have a choice now. Mm-hmm. And so we had my in-laws in town for Easter. They live in California, and they came in for Easter / JJ, who's our daughter, her first birthday. And my wife was just like feeling unwell. But she also, and this is like bad timing, she ran out of her like antacid, her prescription antacid. Oh, no. And so she was like vomiting. We went out to dinner and she was like feeling terrible. And I'm like, what, knucklehead, you didn't take your antacid. Yeah. You like waited to fill your script, all these things. And then like day 2 is the same thing. I'm like, well, you still haven't gotten your prescription. Like, I'm not going to feel bad. This is something you can control. Like total D-bag move of me. But like day 3, same thing. She's like, well, maybe I'll just get a pregnancy test. And so she buys it on like Friday. Our kid's birthday is on Saturday with like everybody around. And she's like, I'm not going to take it. So, cause like if I take it now, this is going to,
it's going to be a
like
hard
change
secret.
this day, right? Like everything will be about something else entirely. I want to make sure our daughter has like a day.
Yep.
And so Easter's on Sunday. Like she has like 1 pregnancy test, and like we had just cooked like the ribeyes and we're plating them. And for some reason she thought that was the time to go do it. Like 2 minutes before we're about to eat. And I just get this like, hey, Jensen, can you come here? Oh. And she just shows it to me, and I was like, there's just no effing way. There's not a chance. Like, I'm not a statistician, but this is against all odds. And so like it was one of those things where like I legitimately was like, no way in hell that she was pregnant. And so when she told me, you get this unguarded reaction of like, holy hell, this is real. This is happening. And so it took us a day, because we weren't planning on it. We're talking through it. And then we ended up telling my in-laws and my brother-in-law and sister who were there. And we're like, we're here. Like,
hey, guess what, guys?
This is it. And like, there's no plan there. We just like, well, I guess you're all here and you leave out of town in a day. So we might as well tell you because we know. But didn't have a chance to process it together, which is like, all right, we're gonna go talk about this. But then they still are in our house, and they're like, you don't have this like alone time to say like, WTF, like what do we do now?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and so we wait. We're like, okay, let's go to the doctor. Let's make sure. And it turns out when we get to the doctor later that week on a Thursday, she's like 11 weeks pregnant. And so we're like, holy hell, we just missed the first trimester. This is awesome. And so it was even more of an oh shit moment where I was like, oh, I don't have that much time. Like, dude, the beginning of November, like
coming quick.
This fast forwarded everything.
Yes.
Like I lost like 3 months of like planning this, thinking about this, and it doesn't change anything, truthfully. No. But now we can say super excited. We just found out we were having another girl. Awesome. Nice. So double girl dad. And we can say like, okay, we're ready for this. We're thinking about it. We're talking about it. But the first week we were just like zombies. Like, what does this mean? And I think the first reaction wasn't really about us, but like sort of thinking about it. Excuse me. It was more so like we sort of felt guilt for our daughter, who's like we sort of know is going to have a different view of the next year, right? And then it was just her birthday, so she had all of this attention. But then I was like, okay, her life's going to change drastically, and we control that. Yeah, similar to like we love our dog. His name is Chorizo. Was like our baby prior to having a baby, and we were like, we always feel guilty. He's like, my dog didn't choose this life, right? Yeah. My dog didn't choose to have this little like monster of a 1-year-old like slapping him and like running around. I feel bad for our dog because he didn't make that choice. And so the same sort of feeling of like my daughter isn't making the choice that she's getting a sibling, and that my wife will be uncomfortable and pregnant, and like there'll be sacrifices that made. And then I watch all these like random Instagram videos with like 2 little girls running around. I'm like, okay, it's fine. It'll be okay.
But I'm really hoping that we come to the agreement of having that second kid because of that reason. Yeah, it doesn't have to be 2 girls, but just having that sibling to play with, run around the backyard. Yeah,
our 2 oldest are 23 months apart. So and like literally Magnolia's birthday, who is the middle child, is January 23rd. Then Holly's birthday is February 6th. And in between that is our wedding anniversary. So it's a very, very busy 2 weeks. But when Magnolia was born, she had seizures. So she had like 6-day fits is what it's called. And we like got out of the hospital the day before Holly's birthday. So we're like, okay, how do we celebrate this kid? Because like we basically, Heather would be in the hospital with Magnolia. I would go home, do all the stuff for Holly, drop her off at daycare, and then come back to the hospital, spend all day with Heather at the hospital, go back. So then it's like, okay, now plan a 2-year-old birthday party. And I'm like, I have a 13-day-old who's spent maybe 6 days in her house, and now we're not going to do much this year. You know what? But the entire time in the back of our head is like, okay, how do we make sure Holly at 2 still feels special because she deserves to feel special? Right. So, yeah, you figure it out. But like, is it? I think it's really smart to acknowledge like, hey, my ability to pay attention to her, my wife's ability to have energy to do stuff she can normally do, it's just not going to be there. Yeah. So how do I make sure to navigate this so my kid doesn't feel left out? Because that's really important to do.
And sort of glad that my kid's 1 and not like 6, right?
Absolutely.
And
yes.
like process it probably differently in a much more sort of surface level feeling that like just my mom's not paying attention to me versus like my mom's paying attention to this kid that's taking energy away from me or whatever. So
how did Holly and Magnolia take it
when we had Josh?
When you had Magnolia for Holly and Josh for...
So I feel like Holly was so young that let me think. Honestly, Magnolia's first year of life, I don't remember. Like realistically, I remember Holly has always not been the best sleeper at nighttime. I remember at some point in time we physically put her bed in our bedroom because we co-slept with our kids. But Holly would have a lot of trouble falling asleep. But also, from her perspective, we literally put her in a room by herself, turned off the light, closed the door. Then the rest of her family went to a different room. So, like, if she had problems with that, yeah, of course she had problems with that. Whenever we had Josh, Holly, who was 5, Magnolia would have been 3-ish, 3.5. Like, Holly was like, I'm going to help with everything possible, get all the diapers. And then Magnolia didn't know what her role was. So she had some regression of like doing baby talk, acting out, or doing stuff where it's just like, oh, this isn't your normal personality. Oh, you don't know what your role is. Like, we ask you to help, then your sister kind of pushes you out of the way and does it before you can. And also, we're still dealing with a newborn. So, like, we're both tired and like, no, yeah, you can help. But like, wait, why are you talking like a baby right now? You're 3.5. Like, why are you babbling? So, yeah, it's just part you figured out. I'm not gonna try to add any whimsy to it or anything like that. Just some days you're good at being kind to your kids, and some days you're like, can you just stop? Yeah. And you just hopefully you're more kind than you are a jerk. That's about it.
I'm excited, like having such close kids in age,
yeah.
And I'm a little probably. JJ was an incredible sleeper. She's always been an incredible sleeper, nice. And so I think we're spoiled. If I have a bad sleeper, we're all done for.
Yep.
Like,
man, it really wrecks you.
It does.
Ada was a bad sleeper, and it wrecked me.
Yeah,
wrecked me to the core. To where, again, I'm going to talk about this every single podcast, but I had to get help.
Yeah,
and get a therapist, and get a psychiatrist, and get meds and everything like that, because that lack of sleep just wrecked me.
It's a torture technique. Like, literally, sleep deprivation is a torture technique that you do to people. So, and we just call it parenting.
Man, and you have no idea, like, even from the perspective of knowing that you're, like, your sleep schedule is going to change prior to having the baby. You have no idea how bad it is, but unless you have a really good sleeper, so lucky you.
That's right. I'm not gonna roll hard eights multiple times in a row. So like I'm anticipating it being bad, but like same thing. Like even when it's bad, I don't gutturally know how terrible it's gonna be for me.
You don't.
Yeah. I know it's gonna be bad, and so like we're like you know what? Like JJ she's 13 months now. She sleeps 7 to 7, and she's done it since like she was young.
That's awesome.
And so like. Cool, we can do a podcast at 7:30. Peace. My kid's gone. Everything's great. Round 2, like we're in trouble if that kid doesn't sleep.
Well, just know, ask for help. Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask for help. If this new girl becomes a really bad sleeper, but I can't remember what I was.
You were saying make sure to get help.
Oh, yeah.
If something turns out the way you didn't anticipate it to, and your ego is flared up, hey man, ask for help.
I appreciate that. I think that's like that is something that, you know, my wife and I have talked about. We've gone to therapy since we've had a kid because the dynamics of your life and marriage is so different. And so like, I'm super aware of that. And like adding sleep deprivation is just like an extra knife in the side that makes all of the other things more complex. So I'm absolutely aware of it. My wife is honest and good about like, all right, let's talk about what is normal and what is like, we're not going to solve this by just a 2-hour nap in the afternoon doesn't resolve like some of these things. So.
Yeah. Hey man, that's awesome that you have that conversation with her.
Yeah. And we sort of have to be our anchors because part of being in new cities and communities, we don't have other people, right? Like I say that sort of like, we know how to interact with that, but like, I don't have a bench to say like, all right, tag me out for the weekend, or like I need help, or we need these things. And we've got close friends, but they're all over the place, like physically all over the place. And so figuring out what can you get balance from your partner, what can they provide, and what are the things like they just don't have the resources physically, mentally to handle that additional thing. And sometimes like you just don't want to put that on them.
Yeah.
So knowing your limit and sort of working through that, I think is different. And we're so appreciative of like jealous of people who have family in town because I think there's an opportunity there, but then like so appreciative of like when we do get folks who are pouring into our marriage, pouring into our relationships and like talking through these tough things and keep that space open to have these really tough conversations. Like my closest friends do it great. They'll literally be like, I know your kid's being a turd right now. Like, you okay? And not everyone has those relationships for people to be able to literally check in and make sure like, I know you're lying. Like, tell me what's going on. And so having those sort of partners in your life and friends that will do that has been really fun and eye opening. And I think everyone needs it. Not everyone has it.
Yeah. That's healthy.
Yeah.
I view it as like release valves. Like if you're like a boiler and literally pressure's getting too much and feel like, hopefully you know what your release valve is that actually relieves the pressure and the steam so you don't blow up in other ways. I think that's honestly like one of the benefits of this doing a podcast and doing Nashville Soccer Club tickets is it guarantees I leave my house. Because since I'm a stay-at-home dad, I'm just like embedded in it constantly. And if my wife was like, go do something, I'm like, well, what am I going to go do? And like, I now have an answer. Like that was one of the worst things during the pandemic is I was at home with kids and like couldn't go anywhere. And all of my normal stress reliefs didn't exist. Like go to a record store, they're all closed. Go to a coffee shop, I can't. And then she'd be like, well, you got to do something because you can't be this person. So,
at least your wife knows that about you, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Just like, no, man, just go on a walker. So like, just whatever you're doing, you have to change your momentum in some way because we both know you don't want to continue in this way.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're right, I do not, but also how?
I don't know how. Yeah,
I don't know how
Yeah.
because it's a pandemic and I can't physically go anywhere. So be aware of your release valves and know when to swallow your pride. Know when to look up and go, oh yeah, you're right. Nope, I'm not doing as well as I thought I was. And you asked me and you genuinely asked me and I need to give you a genuine answer.
And for me, it's always like, I know, I even if I don't feel it now, I need that mechanism in my life where I like, even if I don't say I need it or think about needing it, I need to plan out how I'm going to get it. Mm-hmm. Because by the time I need it, it's like I'm already at a point where I'm like feeling like an asshole that I shouldn't be.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have to wait until you having to break the glass and press the relief button, it's like, I shouldn't have escalated it this much, right?
But
like,
it's hard. It's hard to be vulnerable like that and say, okay, I need help.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not,
So
I'm
then,
not acting like I'm good
keep
at it.
pushing at it and pushing back. Like my wife, she kept on saying, "You need help. You need help." I'm like, no, I'm a man. I'll get through it.
Yeah,
I've done it before. I'll get through it. And just kept prolonging that. And then finally, when I broke down and did say, "Okay, I need the help," the therapy was there, but it was hard to find a good therapist and hard to find a psychiatrist after that.
Yeah,
a lot of times because of the pandemic. I guess there's so many people that were trying to get help that
they had to sit still for the first time in their life.
Yeah, that it was hard to find somebody.
Yeah.
So you're prolonging that even more. But
someone described it to me once, like if you're coming down with a cold, you've got drainage, you've got a runny nose, you've got like a slight temperature and stuff. You take NyQuil and you go to bed. If you apply that to your mental state, you rarely think of it the same way. Like there's still something that like is dragging on you and you need to do something, medicine or whatever, to help yourself with it. But it's like a different like wavelength in my head of like, oh, I should do something to help out with this. I should go on a walk, get some endorphins, do something. But like right now, if I'm mucousy, I'm probably going to take a Benadryl later and go to bed. But if I'm bristled, you have to convince me to take a walk sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is that
why
different?
Is it different? Yeah.
But it is. It's very different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will take medicine if I am sick.
Yep.
Like right off the bat.
Yeah.
But I would not try to get the help or medicine for my mental state.
You have like awful asthma, so you've got your inhaler. You've got like a list of medicines where you're like, oh, if this happens, I do this.
Yep.
But if you're like, I have a cloud over my head of depression, you're like, man, I'll get through it.
Yep.
You wouldn't look at your like tubes closing up and being able to breathe and be like, man, I should just get through this. Like,
I mean, I think like naturally, same thing. Like, I don't go to the doctor unless somebody like whacks me over the head.
Yeah.
Like because like it's hubris. I think that I'm gonna get better. Sure. Like I can sleep it off. Like, so I think there is also a connection of like, you don't trust the science, right?
Yeah,
you think that your internal brain knows better than what everybody's telling you is true. Like, I had like a pink eye infection once. I'm like, just give me some Visine or something. I'm like, no, my wife's, I'm not getting anywhere near you. Like, you look disgusting. And I'm like,
your eye is oozing.
Yeah, like all the signs say I should go to the doctor immediately, but yet somehow I've internalized that it'll pass, right?
Yeah.
Like,
could be the other way and be a hypochondriac and be like, oh, that hurts a little bit. I probably have a sinus infection. I should go to the ENT right now. That's more where I fall into. So
sounds expensive.
Yeah, my wife is like, you're not going again. You literally just got back. You have to.
But I hit my deductible. We're okay.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the goal. That's where you have a deductible. You hit it every. No.
Then you have another kid.
Yeah. Exactly. No, it's not how it works out.
We'll definitely need to have you back on because I'm sure there is a lot more.
I'd love to chat anytime you need a quick backup guest.
Well, permanent backup guest.
Yeah. I'm the B squad at its finest.
No.
Plus squad. Thank you.
We were planning on having you come on anyways.
Yes.
But yeah, what I'm realizing is we have like every single person that we've talked to, we've probably could have talked for more and more hours, but
how we end our episodes, which I don't know if you're familiar with our 5 questions at the end of it, but we ask 5 questions just as an easy way to wrap it up. And Justin will ask the first one.
Yeah. So For both JJ and this, well, actually, no, you don't know a backup name. So, do you have a backup name, or did you have a backup name for JJ?
So my daughter's name is actually Jensen Juniper, which is my first name. And so I think it's funny that I have a junior that's a different section of myself, and I think that will be funnier as her life goes on, and funnier for me, less so for her.
It's the long play of that joke.
Yeah, like God, I always wish that we had like a house phone, and they would say, "Is like Jensen there?" And like, who, the guy or the daughter? Like that to me is a joke that would be funny, but less so now. So JJ was named after myself, obviously, and my wife got naming rights for the second girl, and so she's gonna. It's actually sort of less stressful for me. I'll have veto rights to some extent, but like it is her job and responsibility.
That's pretty cool. Nice. Awesome.
Yeah. Second question: do you have a favorite TV dad?
Favorite TV dad? I'm gonna use the Ted Lasso reference.
Oh, sure.
Because he really is this person that like he has insecurities and yet still puts on a face at times, but really, is concerned about this. I come from divorced parents, so like even being more conscious of like my kid has to have this experience that I can provide, and I want to make sure that we have this nucleus of a family forever and ever. So. And while still being like witty and enjoyable, like I think he's a real role model.
Yeah. Cool. Good answer.
Would you have said if it was a bad answer?
Like, oh, right.
Maybe. Least favorite kids show or movie?
Ooh. My kid just went to like start like when they were born, we're just doing sensory videos. So we're not really into like stuff to watch yet.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm hoping they get there so I can get, more time back.
Yeah.
Screen time to be damned. We'll figure that out. Sorry, Sierra. We'll debate that later. We don't have any really shows that she like watches Sports Center with me in the morning.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
So enjoy that while it lasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She might become a sports girl then.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, that's a lucky answer. You're the first person who's been like, my kid's too young to determine what we watch.
Yeah.
So
nothing.
Good
I don't know how long that'll last, and I'm taking it for what it's worth.
Yep. Is there a toy that JJ plays with that you actually enjoy playing with her?
No.
No?
No, the answer is no. Because none of her toys she plays with. She just plays with the dog bowl, and it's wet as hell in my house.
You're in that phase. You're like, hey, I got you some. Nope. Okay. Okay. You're walking to every other room but the room with the toys.
No,
Great.
and she does the grab it from a place and put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And we were like, my wife was looking for like her Invisalign, and I'm like, I just don't know where to look. Yeah. Like it literally could be 3 feet high at any part of my house.
Yeah. So Ada's been known to put her milk bottle in a cabinet.
Yes.
And we will not find it, and then we'll find it like the day later and be like, ooh, glad she didn't see that.
Josh recently hid one of our daughter's stuffed animal toys underneath my wife's side of the sink. So, like, she was packing to go on a trip, and she was like, oh, this is where the stuffed animal that our middle child has been crying for 2 nights has been this entire time. Thanks, 20-month-old baby.
Oh, man. What moment of your kid's life are you most excited to be a part of?
Wow. That one is... I think I want to just make sure I'm intentionally present. Like, I have too many hobbies, insert food truck plug, and work life. And I find myself that, like, I can't sit still. And so my kid will suffer from that view of, like, I'm constantly doing something, whether it be on my phone or, like, I can't just be present. And so as I talk about and think about, like, how can I remove these things that, are distractions to parenthood, like, I don't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
And I have to be really conscious of it because my default is, let me go do 17 things. I'm watching the kid, I'm doing these things, but I'm also doing 17 things. Yeah. And I don't think she notices now, but pretty soon it'll be apparent that her dad can't sit still, and I don't want her to take that personally. Yeah. That being said, I also want her to say dada, like truly say it.
Yeah.
And she says it, but it's like my wife isn't convinced. She knows what she's talking about. So
has she said any other words?
No.
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 Okay.
And like she yells. She found her volume this last 2 weeks. And it is unpleasant in the worst of ways.
Yes.
It is amazing when you walk in that door and she just says "Dada." It's amazing. So
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that.
If we want to follow you on Instagram, what should we do? How should we follow you? How should we eat some delicious breakfast burritos and change our opinion on breakfast burritos in the South?
That's a good leeway. I think one, follow us on Instagram, JMAS Nashville. We try not to blow you up while trying to build content and all the other things that social media people do. We'll be at Creve Hall Farmers Markets. Sometimes you'll have to check our schedule. But just find us. If you see us, come by, say you saw us or heard me on the Nashville Dads. I will give you a discount. I have to debate with my wife what that discount will be. So
1% is still technically a discount.
yeah, I need to know really the viewership to really know what the number is.
Yeah. Probably 30 listens. So.
Great. So 50% off. No, just kidding. Just feel free to follow our story along. We're pretty candid about what's happening in our lives, and also if you're looking on owning a food truck business,
about 50% of it.
But we're open to having that conversation. Only slightly joking. #DM us.
Nice. Well, Jensen, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it, man.
Yep.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks again for listening. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at the Nashville Dads and to subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify podcast. We record at New Light Podcast Studio and episodes are produced by me, Devin.